and we're going to play several clips for you, ties in with a larger theme, which is distrust. I'm not sure in either of our lives, Buck, there has ever been less trust in people of authority, in large institutions. In fact, Gallup has essentially confirmed that. Gallup does a survey of the most trusted sources out there, and the two least trusted in all of America were Congress and the news media. The media in general, so incredibly untrustworthy. I know for you and I, Buck, one reason why we've grown audiences the way we have is not because everybody agrees with every single opinion that we have, but because there's so much inauthenticity, there's so much lying out there. And I would argue one of the biggest and most consistent liars is a guy on CNN named Brian Stelter. Would you agree with that he is one of Exhibit A on a guy that really, to my knowledge, doesn't have a fan base? Like, I don't even know how this guy's on television.
Excuse me, sir. Jeff Zucker is a big fan, and there are hundreds and hundreds of people who are stuck in airports across America at any given time and have to watch unreliable sources. There's some people on television who you think, okay, I can see how that guy or that girl's on television. They're really good looking. They convey information in an incredible way. I mean, I don't know about you, Buck, but the first couple of times I did television, you have no idea what you're doing, and it's incredibly difficult to look comfortable when you're doing something that is profoundly uncomfortable, especially if, and I remember on back in the day, when you have a full body shot, it's like Talladega Nights. You don't know what to do with your hands. The first time I was ever in a television studio, I had a full body shot, where the camera's like looking at my entire body. I'm like, I don't know what to do with my hands. I don't know how to stand. Like, you start questioning every aspect of your biochemistry. And there's a ton of people, and I'm sure you've seen this, who can be great in the so-called green room, where you're sitting waiting to go on television. You're having an incredible conversation. Person's engaging. They walk 100 yards down the hallway. As soon as they get mic'd and as soon as the bright lights come on, they look like they're filming a hostage video. Television is an art, and there are people who are really good at it. This dude doesn't seem to be one of them to me.
Well, it's true that television is a skill, and if you've ever seen somebody who tries to even read a prompter who's never done it before, doesn't matter how smart you are, how much you read, if you haven't actually done that, chances are you're going to be in a bad place with the first time you do it. Well, look, why? Here's the real issue with Stelter. All right, the problem, because I don't get into. If ladies out there want to have a Stelter calendar on their wall, that's their call. I don't judge whatever somebody wants. That's cool. I don't poke fun at that stuff, or I don't go there. That's whatever. The problem with Brian Stelter is that he thinks of himself as the guardian of media truth at CNN, right, which is an organization devoted to the fundamental lie that they are engaged in nonpartisan, unbiased news gathering and dissemination. They are an instrument of Democrat Party propaganda, fake tapper, all the way on down to the ones who are actually saying that they're opinion journalists. But all of them together have the same purpose, which is to support the Democrats, support the left. They're more Hillary than Bernie in how they do it, because they've got, multi-million-dollar houses in the Hamptons, the Upper West Side, Calorama, D.C., and wherever other fancy places the anchors all live. But at the end of the day, man, Stelter's there to pretend that we can't all observe that the media has become warring machines of propaganda and partisanship. This notion of the neutral media and CNN as a gold standard of it, you cannot be informed and honest and believe this anymore. But Stelter's job is to be like the Baghdad Bob, so to speak, of the unbiased media. Like, the invasion's not actually happening. The bombs that are going off behind me, you're not seeing those, which is why I like to make fun of it.
And this clip, of all the people to call him out on his own show, Michael Wolff, who has written several books over the years, this one, the most recent one, is about the end days, I think, of the Trump administration. And so he's out promoting a book, And I don't know whether he just finally had done so many interviews that he was just finally done with it, and like he didn't give any F's, for lack of a better way of saying it. But this thing goes off the rails, and I want you guys to listen to Brian Stelter and Michael Wolff as things on CNN got uncomfortable in a hurry.
That's what Trump does. He has spent most of his administration seeing people on television and immediately calling them.
Well, maybe that's how it works sometimes.
I don't want you to think.
Is that how it works? That's how you get access?
But I don't want you to think that what I said at that point was in any way inauthentic. I think the media has done a terrible job on this. I think you yourself, while you're a nice guy, you're full of sanctimony. You become part of one of the parts of the problem of the media. You come on here and you have a monopoly on truth. You know exactly how things are supposed to be done. You are why one of the reasons people can't stay on the media. I'm sorry.
You're cracking me up.
It's your fault.
It is actually hilarious because it's true. I also like the little shot he takes.
Is that how you get access?
He's sort of trying to do you're not a real journo, you're trade. CNN trades truth for access every day and twice on Sunday. They could care less. It's absurd. But do you think Wolff, because his whole thing is some people say he gets the great scoops, other people say he's a fabulous. Do you have a clear opinion on it? Because the stuff is entertaining, but sometimes I'm like, that quote seems a little too perfect.
Well, the way that all these books are written is fundamentally artificial. And let me explain what I mean by that. I have written several books, and part of books is you have to recreate conversations to the best of your ability that have already taken place. And it's not like unless you're Nixon, it's not like you were sitting there reviewing a transcript. So what you are claiming to do is do the recollections to the best of your ability. Here's the thing when it comes to political books with all these extensive quotes in there. People who are telling you what was said are often telling you what was said. One, the way that they remember it, which is often untrue. But two, they are doing it in a way that makes them look better. So I do think people tell him stories. I think trying to figure out what the truth is of those stories is challenging. But back to Stelter, one of the things I think is interesting about him, it's one thing, like, does he have any fan base? I understand sometimes when people are like, oh, I really dislike Rachel Maddow, right? Somebody could say that. Or I really dislike Tucker Carlson. But there are people who really love Rachel Maddow and really love Tucker Carlson, right? Like, whether you like them or not yourself, they are talented enough that they have created specific audiences for themselves based on their opinion-based programming, which is a talent, right?
Well, you do have in legacy media, but what you're saying is undoubtedly and provably true. There are a lot of people who watch Maddow and clearly a lot of people who watch Tucker.
And love them both for the reason that they watch.
And there are other hosts within those networks who also have real audience,
massive
real pull,
audiences.
And that's the reality of it. In legacy media institutions, of which CNN you'd put pretty high up on the list. I mean, it's the original cable news channel. In legacy media institutions, the executives can decide they like someone and give that person a show. I mean, I'll never forget, before he broke the big Weinstein story, the biggest joke ever in cable news was the show. Actually, I can't remember. Ronan Farrow's show. They gave it to him. The guy had interned at the State Department for 3 months. And they're like, oh, he's did really well in school. I mean, it was like the high school kid with a lemonade stand who's given a cable news show. Now later he went on Pulitzer Prize and everyone's going to yell, oh, but he did great journalism. I understand that. But the kid didn't earn the cable news show that he had, but the people within NBC and its parent company, etc., wanted to give him a show. So they did. It flopped. So that does happen. But I still think the biggest problem with Stelter is that he's like the chief propagandist of unbiased news. And even beyond that, that journalism is a thing that is broadly practiced in America. That is to your Gallup statistic from the beginning of this chat we're having, Clay, that's a lie. There's not a lot of journalism. There's a lot of projection, opinion, and politicking under the guise of journalism. And the people that won't admit that, I think, are at the very forefront of the problem.
Do you buy my thesis that one of the major issues that CNN has, and we can unpack this a little bit more if we want to when we come back in the next segment, but one of the main issues that CNN has is, unlike MSNBC or Fox News, where you have a connection to the opinion programming host, I don't think there are lots of people who are dyed-in-the-wool Chris Cuomo fans or Don Lemon fans, like such that you would build your entire night or evening around them, right? Like, they seem sort of in this strange amorphous place, and this sort of scenario, when you really look at it with Brian Stelter, I legit think there isn't a single person who is a fan of his in the country. He's just on television. And what I'm getting at is that's hard to do. It's hard to be on television and not create some form of fan base for yourself. And I think he's managed to do it. So congratulations to him.
He better invite you on his show soon. You guys need
I'm banned from all CNN.
That's right,
I'll go on any show. I don't run and hide.
CNN.
I mean,
I gotta say, I'm jealous. I gotta get banned.
Welcome back in. Appreciate all of you hanging out with us. I am Clay Travis. He is Buck Sexton. You are listening to the Clay Travis and Buck Sexton Show. Go subscribe to the podcast. By the way, media not very popular. About to play you a clip of Joy Reid. One of the reasons why the media is not very popular is maybe Joy Reid. But NBA ratings, Buck Sexton. Game 5, NBA Finals in as we have been conducting this show. My theory has been for a long time, get woke, go broke. Buck, they are down 50%.
Oh, whisper those sweet numbers into my ear.
50%.
I love it.
And it's actually been a pretty entertaining series. You got, for those of you out there who have been paying attention at all, which honestly sounds like a lot less of you than used to, because the NBA went so woke politically, 50% of their viewership has disappeared compared to the last Game 5 they played in the summer. They had 18 million and change that watched back in 2019. And by the way, that was a Canadian team, so it wasn't even two American teams. It was the Golden State Warriors against the Toronto Raptors. Ratings were down 50% for this Game 5 between the Milwaukee Bucks and the Phoenix Suns. And you know what? I think they're trying to pretend it's like, remember when George Costanza quit his job in Seinfeld and then showed up the next day and tried to pretend that he had not?
You know that's based on Larry David actually doing that at SNL, which is amazing.
It's an amazing story. And I can't wait, by the way, for the new season of Curb, because I love Larry David. I think he's an absolute comedic genius. But the NBA now is trying to pretend that they never did this woke stuff, right? Like, they've taken it all off the court. It's all off the jerseys. Nobody's saying anything political now. Partly that's probably because LeBron's got Space Jam 2 out and he's getting dunked on by Michael Jordan compared to the Space Jam 1 numbers and everything else. But I do think that is worth kind of debating and contemplating.
Can I just ask, have you're not going to go see it, right? Because people that I know and trust
Space Jam 2
have said that Space Jam 2 is an atrocity for the ears and the eyeballs, and that it is actually, I'm not somebody who believes, I'm not a snowflake, I don't melt easily, I don't believe in offense, but it is offensively bad as a waste of your time, even going obviously with your kids and the fam and the whole thing. That's how bad it is. I think
we'll probably play it at some point on HBO Max in the house, but that's not a movie that I'm willing to take the family to. We've been to Black Widow and we went to A Quiet Place 2, and so I love movies. Although the movies are actually, tanking now because nobody wants to go. But I want to make sure that we hit this Joy Reid clip, and then we'll talk about it a little bit more here in a moment. But here's Joy Reid screeching on MSNBC about how Fox News wants everybody to die.
When we had our show call this morning, this took up like 3/4 of it because, number one, it doesn't make sense to me why the folks at that particular network, which I think we all know who we mean, would want to kill their own viewers. Their viewers are older. Their viewers are more susceptible to COVID.
It is, actually. I hadn't thought about that.
And I don't understand what the point is of killing them, because everyone on air at Fox has been vaccinated. I would put any money on it. They were vaccinated first. I'm sure they shoved little old ladies out of the way to get their vaccines first. They're all vaccinated. Mm-hmm. They're living in remote cabins.
No way the corporation would allow them into that building without a vaccine.
Rupert Murdoch literally got himself in 4 SUVs and went in a fleet to get vaccinated. vaccinated like he was the king of England. They're all vaccinated. And so if they're telling you not to do it, you have to ask yourself why they don't care about you and you're their base. And again, the people who are saying this, what is in it for them, for their own people to die?
Stupid, baseless smears of the worst
It's also
kind.
a lie.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
It's also a lie.
It's not
I'm
true.
I can specifically prove that what she just said is untrue. I am not vaccinated. I had COVID, as I've said on this show, trying to be as transparent and honest as I can. I am going to do my television show for Fox Sports on Thursday and Friday from the Fox lot. I am not vaccinated, and last month I did my show from Fox News. So I will be doing shows, and that's the process. So Joy Reid, people are laughing. Oh shit, everybody wants to die in there. It's not true. And it's also not true that Fox will disallow you on the campus if you haven't been vaccinated.